Look, we just got done talking about Michael Jackson. Now that James is here, let's talk about the videos I've seen of Max B over the last couple of days. That's a wild
With his
boy.
$500,000 jewelry allotment that he got. James, you big Max B fan?
You got that Kenny Caraway money.
He
Well,
wavy. James, say right now, he wavy.
I don't know what that means.
That's fine. That's fine, James.
I don't say things that I know what they mean, Kenny.
Very good. That's a smart way to live. That's a smart way to live, Hammer. James, I said a couple of times today that tonight is kind of a breaking point for me. They're 3-8, which obviously isn't great. 4-8 for some reason feels better. Like it to me, like I feel like if you're 4-8, it's not a great road trip, but it's not. You have a pulse, right? Don't pull the plug yet because there's a pulse there. Man, you'll have a hard time convincing me not to take you off life support if they lose this game and this homestand winds up as bad as it would be if they drop this game to Atlanta.
Yeah, I just don't know what the alternative is, though. I mean, do you just stop watching for a couple of weeks until Keegan gets back? I mean, like, look, this is kind of the way this season is started, and it's probably going to continue. There is a little bit of hope here that maybe Keegan can make a big difference. Maybe they can pull off a trade that complements Keegan's return and, starts to put this thing a little more functional. But for right now, I'm with you. Like, this is it's a bad spot to be in. I said it earlier. For some reason, 4-8 sounds just so much better than 3-9. And, so you're hoping for a win. You're hoping that they show up on their home court, that they give their home fans something to cheer about. And, I don't know how they accomplish that, but, again, I'm kind of in that mode where it's time for another change. It's time to figure out something different. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Doug Christie tinker with the starting lineup again. But when a player stops playing well at all, at some point you do have to make a move. And unfortunately for Dennis Schroeder, that's kind of where we're at with him. And so that's where I would start with today's conversation is like, how do you put Russell Westbrook in the starting lineup, even if it's just to give Dennis a break and clear his head?
My bad. Yeah, I'm all for giving vets the time and the leeway to kind of work themselves out of whatever slumps they have. And I know for the better part of the last week or so, people have been calling for Dennis to be replaced in the starting lineup because of the way he's been playing, the way he's been shooting. And I'm on, I guess maybe the Doug Christie side of this. Like, I got to give him some time. I got to figure out, give him the opportunity to figure out what he needs to get back on track. And I think we've run out of time. I agree with you. Like, I've given you enough leeway, Dennis, to try and continue to hold on to this spot, but you're not playing any better. We're not winning any games. I got to do what's best for the rest of the guys in this locker room, and maybe even for yourself as well. Like you said, to maybe this is something that can kickstart Dennis into playing a little better. But I would look to put Russell Westbrook in that starting point guard spot.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. Again, we always talk about these moments that come and go where, should you put Malik Monk in the starting lineup used to be the question before. But at this point, like, this team just plays better when Russell Westbrook's on the floor, and certainly when he's on the starting lineup. So I kind of need to see what it looks like. And like a 1-for-19 stretch, like, I don't remember another player having something like this in Sacramento. 1-for-19 over 3 games is crazy. And to get starter minutes, and again, Doug has had to go to different directions. And I think the other thing that I'm looking at is I don't really like Russell Westbrook, Malik Monk playing together off the bench. I think that's all your oomph. That's your energy right there between those two. And so I would use the energy level of one of those guys in the starting lineup to just change what's happening here. Make somebody else really focus on Russell Westbrook. Because that's what will happen. If you're able to get Russell Westbrook going in the first couple of minutes of a game tonight, then Dyson Daniels is going to have to shift over and defend him. And that might get Zach LaVine going. And if you can get Zach LaVine going, then now they're going to start chasing their tail. And that's how you start to get mismatches and how you start to get things moving the right way. I see people mentioning like Dwayne Dedman in the chat. And, like I've been here long enough to see so many veterans come in and just not figure out how to fit in. And it's never made any sense to me. The Marco Bellinellis of the world, there's just so many players that come in, they sign free agent contracts in Sacramento, and then unfortunately just like forget how to be effective. And you want to give somebody some leeway to play through it. And I'm not saying don't play Dennis at all. I'm just saying like whatever's happening right now, it's not working, and teams are sagging off him. They're not even defending him on the perimeter. And that's a problem for everyone else. If you can't figure out how to play with this group, then maybe you need to watch for a few minutes and see what happens.
Hammer, does it throw any sort of monkey wrench into Doug's potential plans in that he'll have to change his starting lineup no matter what tonight, given the fact that Zach LaVine is out? Do you feel like he can still make that change with Dennis Schroeder at the point guard position, knowing that Zach won't be available?
Sure. Like I think you can use Keon Ellis as a starter.
I don't think that's going to happen, sweetie. I think it's going to be Neek. Like, I do not think Doug is going to go to Keon to start.
No, you might be right. You might be right there, but like again, that I like Neek Clifford in the starting lineup. But what you can't do is put non-offensive players in your backcourt and then try to run the ball through your big man or whatever you're trying to do. I mean, like at that point, what are you looking at? 3 non-scorers in your starting lineup or guys that aren't scoring? That's really tough. So, I mean, at least with Keon Ellis, they have to stay with him on the perimeter because if he gets hot, everyone knows he can knock down a 3 as well as anybody in the league. So that's where you start to run into problems. Mm-hmm. Like the spacing on this team is already bad. It is. It's just not good at all. And you got to figure out ways to open up the spacing. And that's not to put, like I like what Neek Clifford's doing and how he's developing, but like no one is gonna like go stand out on him on the 3-point line and respect his 3-point shot until he hits 2 or 3. And by that point, what are we looking at? The fourth quarter? Because clearly you're not feeding him the ball. So it's just a weird situation to be in.
Yeah, there was at least 3 times last night where watching the game and the Kings are actually moving the ball well. To, everybody being happy about that on the offensive end, and they get it, kick it out to somebody, and they swing. Oh yeah, one more. There he is in the corner. One more. And they get it to the corner, and it's Precious. And I said, oh, no. We don't have anybody who can shoot the You move the ball perfectly, and Precious is the one in the corner. No. And that's kind of the conundrum that you're talking about.
I remember it very distinctly. And then they
possession really hard.
No, it was frustrating. It happened at least 2 times. I said, oh, no. And I'm not mad at Precious. This is just not his game. Like he's trying to spread the floor, but he's not a 3-point shooter. That's not his job to shoot that shot. And that's when you get hit with the reality of like, man, and with this particular group on the floor, they don't have nobody to spread the floor and shoot it.
Well, I'll admit that I went home and took a nap, and then I've got to get back in the car and drive all the way down to the arena. I didn't see the injury report until right now. And, you got Malik questionable. You've got Domas questionable. It's not a good thing. I am surprised that Zach's not playing because I didn't see him with an injury last night at all. But, again, you're hoping that this team bounces back. The Warriors have already played like 3 or 4 sets of back-to-backs. This is what, the second for the Kings? Like, you got to get out there and play. This is your team is in a bad situation, and this is one of the few winnable games on the schedule that's coming up, and especially at home, you need to. It's got to be all hands on deck. And yeah, I would not be shocked to see Russell Westbrook starting tonight, well, who's going to start with him? Maybe he starts alongside a guy like Dennis Schroeder, and maybe that's what you do. But you got to hope that again Domas plays.
Yeah.
He's just beat up, man. Watching him labor up and down the court, grabbing his side the whole time. I'm surprised he's not wearing like a flak jacket. Because that's what they do with a lot of NFL guys.
Yeah, it's not going to get any better. Like they play, there's a ton of basketball ahead for them. A lot of it's taking place on the road. Um, yeah, like I wonder. I wonder if Doug had an idea going into tonight, and then learning that Zach LaVine wouldn't play. If it's like, well, okay, maybe it's Dennis and Russ, but it's not like anything is really working. So starting Russ and Neek, or maybe he shocks us all and it's Russ and Keon, which again I wouldn't expect that if he makes two changes. I think it would be Russ and Neek, but of course, as you mentioned, Hammer, we've still got the element of whether Domas is going to be available or not. Malik's availability is a big deal too, because man, this gets real bad if you start missing any more guys.
Yeah, man.
What did you think of Doug's pregame address yesterday?
I thought it was interesting. Like right away, like I usually get the mic either first or second over on the side. So I'm always sitting on like where Doug sits to his left. And the door they come in, it's got a finger pad that allows you to get in and out. That's how they unlock it and lock it. So it's all ID. And I watched media relations stand by there waiting to reopen the door. And I was kind of like, huh, well, that's weird. Just like sort of a weird situation where, when you're in the same room and you do the same thing, it becomes so routine that when something is out of the ordinary, you catch it like very quickly. So when Doug started to talk and media relations stood by the door, it was like, uh-oh, I, I don't think we're going to be asking questions. Like, this looks like it's going to be over very quickly, and then we'll be on to the rest of our day. I just think it was weird, and the way that he decided to address, the media. I think first and foremost, I understand what his thought was, but I don't know that it's the best way to handle that. And, I don't know if there is a way to handle sort of the criticism of what's happening. But I certainly don't think that it was, like the best way. Anytime you're in that situation, you think it's going to go a different way than it does. Right. And I talked about this earlier, but, I don't know if you guys remember the Paul Westphal letter to the media about DeMarcus Cousins,
Mm-hmm.
and then he got fired 2 days later.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't go over well. Mike Brown had a couple of moments that didn't play the way that I think he thought they would. So I just think that it was a tough way to address people. And I also think like a lot of people in the room, like while it's going on, they're looking around like, did I say something? Is there something I did? And realistically, I don't think it was anyone that was in that room. And a lot of the television guys were out on the floor doing live hits because it was such a late game that's when their live hits for their evening news show were, and they weren't in the room either. So everyone came back and was like, wait, what the hell happened? And it was like, yeah, it was a weird like 2 minutes. So like I get it, and I get Doug trying to be forceful at the same time. I just don't know. Again, if I were advising him in that situation, that's not what I would have had him do. And if you were going to make that statement, you should at least left it open for questions so people could have asked. And I mentioned this with Kyle earlier. The game before, like as a group, we gave him a bunch of grace leading into the game because he took the podium like minutes after finding out that Lenny Wilkins had passed, who was like one of his heroes, being from Seattle. And Doug, got very emotional in pregame and started to break down, and we let it go and ended the media session after, a couple of minutes, not even that, maybe a minute and a half. And so for this to be like the follow-up the next time it was a little different. And, so we had back-to-back media sessions that were very kind of unsettling in a way.
Do you think this is an isolated incident? There's something specifically that set Doug off, or do you think even 10 games in, maybe the pressure of the situation is getting to him?
I think there's a troll out there that's gotten under his skin. So, I mean, I don't want to dive too deep into it, but I do think
Highland trolls are a bitch.
yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
So,
bud.
yeah, I think that at the end of the day, I do think that that someone specifically got under his skin. And like Doug's been in the business long enough. He does have people that may like him and people that don't like him. The number of people that like him outweigh the number of people that don't like him, probably like 200 to 1. So it's kind of the way it goes. I don't think he was reacting to Dave. I don't think that was it. It could have been part of it, but I don't think that
That was
was
my
it.
initial thought, because I know nothing of what goes on in Thailand, so I
Yeah,
wasn't even aware of that thing. I didn't know that person existed anymore.
yeah,
But I absolutely
Nobody
thought,
does.
given the social media conversation, I thought he was talking about Dave's tweet, um, or Twitter behavior, just because when he says, that's not me. Yeah, that Doug isn't. Doug's like, no, I'm gonna go win games now.
Right.
And
yeah.
if you tell me I can't win with this roster, I'm going to prove you wrong that I absolutely can win with this roster. That's Doug. But so that in again, that was the confusing thing, Hammer. I was with this. What is he talking about?
I think the weird thing was, as a media group, we walked out of the room, all of us kind of scratching our head, like, again, I've seen a lot of crazy things in 16 years covering this team, and that's not one of them. I mean that's now one of them. It's like I had not seen something like that before. I have seen like a coach come in, address the media quickly, and leave, but not usually like that. So it just became like the topic of discussion with the media group, and then a bunch of like sort of detective work everyone's going through and trying to figure out what exactly it is. And I think the initial thing was it could be, that you know Dave's tweets and whatever. But at the end of the day, I don't believe that was it. And I haven't talked to Doug like off the record about it. Clearly it's a frustrating time for the team and frustrating time for a coach. That the one thing that he did that stood out is he brought up Rick Adelman and he brought up Jerry Reynolds as two of the people that like have a deep seated love for the city of Sacramento and the job at hand, and what that means. And he's one of them. Like coaches come and go, but a lot of them come into Sacramento without any ties to here. And Doug, considers himself a member of this community, and he's been a huge part of this community for 20 years. And so not everybody has that same tie. Mike Brown didn't have that tie. Dave Yeager didn't have that tie. Luke Walton didn't have that tie. Keith Smart didn't have that tie. None of the Michael Malone didn't have that tie. You end up falling in love with Sacramento. A lot of these people do, and the community and the all the way the fans embrace you and the way you go to high school football games and all the stuff that coaches here that are in charge of the Kings have done over the last couple of decades. But at the same time, I think Doug just thinks he has a deeper tie because he was a player here, and it's a little different for him. It hits a little different, and he wants success. He wants success not just for himself, so he keeps his job. He wants success for the Kings and for Kings fans and for Sacramento, and that's not always what the job is here. A lot of people are sure they're looking for success, but they're looking for personal success. They're looking for their win-loss record and to make more money and all that stuff. That's not what Doug's here for.
James, 100% understand people that say should have just went on about his business, not reacted to anything of it, anything that had been going on. But one of the things that I did kind of like about him speaking is it showed a little fire after what happened over the weekend and them getting beat down. And um, I don't know that the showing fire doesn't result in wins or a better product, but sometimes, not all the time, sometimes we would get on De'Aaron Fox for this when they would lose games. Sometimes you want to know that these guys are just as frustrated or care just as much as you do. And I thought Doug in that speech kind of got in his competitive bag right there. Like he's very competitive and prideful about some of the things that have gone down to start this season. And I appreciated him at least showing that type of pulse.
Oh yeah, he certainly has a pulse, and he wants to succeed. Like, and this is a coach. Like, whatever you want to say about like whether he would be a coach somewhere else in the league or anything else. Like, first of all, there are plenty of coaches that wouldn't get a job somewhere in some other city. There are tons of them. Like the guy in L.A. Running the Lakers. I don't know he was going to go get another job if he wasn't a podcast partner of LeBron James. The guy in Memphis or the guy Darko in Toronto. Like there are always coaches in places that they might not get a job somewhere else. So I've never bought that as like a big knock on Doug. Doug did the work. He did 3.5 years as an assistant before he took over the team last year, and like he ran a 27-24 record with a team that had fired their coach and then traded their best player, and he held on for dear life. And whether they were successful in the play-in or not, he was able to keep them afloat enough to get to the play-in tournament. And so like there is something here. He can coach. It's just he needs time. He needs a better roster. He needs a different roster, like better fit players and stuff. So it's just not an easy situation for anybody involved.
But you got to find a way to make it work. And
you do.
That's I think that's when you talk about one of Doug's best qualities. Doug could walk out there with Jesse, D'Lo, KC, James, and Kyle, and he'll find a way to. No, we're going to win this game. Mm-hmm. He would be wrong, but he would absolutely believe. Now I'm gonna get these guys ready to go out there and win a basketball game, because Doug doesn't operate any other way. It goes back to the pregame thing. That's why I thought he was talking about Dave, because he just would not like operate that way in like rebuilding and tanking, doing all this stuff. Like he wants to go out and win with this group. I also think there's like a level of like reassurance there, because the validity of what Dave said doesn't really matter. It was picked up by NBA aggregators, and now all of a sudden DeRozan, Levine, Dennis, Doma, like your whole 4 of your 5 starting 5, they're all out there. Their names are all out there. And there's a certain level of, hey man, that's not what we're doing. That's not how we help.
That doesn't help the situation.
Of course. Yeah, of course not.
And real quick, because I thought about this earlier, I meant to bring it up, but when you thought maybe it was addressed a little bit to Dave as well, aside from the haters remark and all this other stuff, he was very emphatically trying to get across the point that we're all on the same page. Mm-hmm. And Doug is not a, hey, we're tanking or we're ready for. Doug is like, we're trying to win tonight. And he got across early on, no, we are all on the same page. So I just kind of thought about that earlier when you were talking about who maybe it was addressed to, and if somebody is talking about rebuild and they're ready for it. He's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Me, you know how I get down. I'm trying to win, and we're all on the same page. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I do. They are on the same page. It's the same message I get behind the scenes as well. Like they understand that this roster is not right. They do. They understand that there has to be massive changes, and that the only way to get through this is to really like revamp just the fit of the team. The fit, they just don't fit together, and everyone sees that, but they also see it. It's not like they're blind to this and have their head in the sand and saying, "Oh no, it'll get better, it'll get better." No, they get it. They get it. They get that the schedule's rough. They get that the mix of players is wrong, but they also have to have ways to fix that without it costing draft capital and everything else that sets them back even further. So, stuff.
We'll come back. We've got Kings basketball again tonight at the Golden One Center against the Atlanta Hawks. No Zach LaVine. We're waiting to hear, and I'm sure we won't know for a while about Domas and Malik Monk, but we'll come back. We got more with our insider from the Insiders. It's James Ham with D'Lo and KC on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320.
Yeah, Zach, I got to be honest. First of all, I addressed it earlier on the Insiders, but secondly, like, it is annoying that you post the same exact effing things like again and again and again and again. So, yeah, I got it confirmed through somebody who actually works with the team that they cannot sign Keon to an extension until I believe it's February 9th, not February 6th. So, I mean,
Who the hell is Zach?
NBA guru Zach.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just know him as NBA guru. I didn't.
Well, and like, look, the problem that you have is that it's been different through like 8 different people. So, yeah. So even though you're correcting me, you still had the wrong date. So there we go. Thanks for correcting yourself.
Go take a lap.
Like, seriously. And they like Keon. Yeah, we're kind of in a weird situation with this group of players. Like, and again, trade rumors don't help. I mean, I talked to Zach in the locker room last night. I'm not quite sure what exactly happened between now and then. So, yeah, Keith Smith has changed on that a couple of times. There's been other people in the industry who have said no, they can re-sign him at any point. Yeah, I read the thigh contusion for Zach, but again, I don't know when that happened because I don't remember him getting hit in the leg last night, and then he was in the locker room and there wasn't anything. I also, like, someone mentions that Katie said something that Domas is adjusting. It just looks like Domas is hurt in one spot and he keeps grabbing at it every single time he gets hit.
The other day, I was just around. I was around, and people were sitting down, and this nice little young white lady, she comes up and she's in the way, and they're like, "Oh, hey, how are you doing? Oh, good to see you. Good to see you." And the guy, there's a black guy. He goes, you can sit right here, and then she goes, "Oh, no, it's okay. I won't take the seat." And he goes, "Oh, it's because I'm black." I said, Jesus. Why you go there for the joke immediately? Oh, man. Matter of fact.
Yeah, Jacob, see, Sean was under the impression that Keegan is going to be back like any second. Like, I actually had to check him on that because I'm like, you do understand that you're talking about like 2 days, right?
Bro, Jesus.
It feels like we got to be getting close.
To Keegan?
Camera, yeah.
Yeah.
Head over to bakerfamilywines.com. Join Dusty's Clubhouse. Get updated on all the exclusive releases he's got coming out, the tasting room specials, and they might even alert you when Dusty Baker is going to be at the tasting room, which is in Napa, right, Casey?
No,
It's not. Alameda County.
no, sir.
Lodi.
No.
It's not, man. Baker Family Wines is right here in Sacramento, West Sacramento, to be exact, on Industrial Boulevard, man. You can go there anytime you want to, hang out, have some great wines. They'll even show you the winery in the back, man. It's absolutely terrific. If Dusty Baker is there, don't be embarrassed about sitting down and telling him he is your favorite, because I've seen a million people do it, and I've seen a million people sit and talk with him. Grab the rosé while you're there. I promise you won't regret it. Or that 755 tribute to Hammer and Hank, man. That cab is beautiful. You could look for Baker Family Wines at select Nugget locations in Roseville, Granite Bay, and out there in Elk Grove. You can also search Rayleigh's in Bel Air. Look for that wine bottle with the baseball stitch on it and the Baker Family Wine logo. Again, head over to bakerfamilywines.com. Join Dusty's Clubhouse. Join the family of Baker Family Wines. We were talking about Keegan Murray during the commercial break. Hammer, I'll just ask you we got to be close, right?
Yeah, we had a podcast on Saturday, and Sean thought that he would be back by I think he said game 9 or 10, and I'm like, well, that's like literally today.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think he's going to be back. We haven't heard anything on reevaluation. He was at shoot around yesterday, but not shooting. He was, walking around dribbling a ball with his good hand, his right hand that is not injured, but he still has whatever the splint is, and I think he's probably going to play the rest of the season or a good portion of the season with something like that on his hand. But I think the one good thing that I would say is that when he's ready to return, when he's pain-free or he can't injure it any further or whatever, when they feel like he's healed, he should be ready to go very quickly. The Kings have their return to play protocol where they want 5-on-5 and 3-on-3 and contact and all that stuff. But that's usually for lower leg injuries and stuff. He's got a hand issue. He's been running, he's been jumping, he's been lifting weights, he's been shooting the basketball, dribbling, all that stuff for 3 weeks, 4 weeks since the injury. So I would expect him to be back relatively soon. We're right a little bit over the 4-week mark for reevaluation, but the 4 to 6 week mark is what we're looking at. He could be out another 6 to 8 games. What we looked at in the beginning, it was I think it really aligned with the 4 to 6 weeks aligned with game 12 to game 20. And so it should be relatively soon, but we might still have a little bit of time to go.
James, what's been your thoughts on Precious in the first few games that he's played with the Kings? Some in the starting lineup, some coming off the bench. What's your feel on him so far?
I think he's played really well. I think he's starting to get a little more comfortable. He gives the Kings something they just didn't have. He's not a big time offensive player. That's not what we've seen, but he does rebound. He does show up on defensive plays where you're like, huh, where'd he come from? I thought he did a solid job defending Aaron Gordon last night. I think, again, they had to take Drew Eubanks off of Valanciunas and Jokic and use Precious on him, on one of those two guys when Domas got in foul trouble. So I think he's doing well. I think he's growing into whatever role he's going to have. And like, look, when everyone is healthy, he might have played himself into a little bit of a backup center role as well. But when Keegan is back and he's playing, 34, 35, 36 minutes a night, it's going to leave like 13, 14 minutes a night for someone like Precious. And I think he can hold down those minutes, at least right now. You'd like someone who's a little bit more of a 3-4, not a 4-5. But at the same time, I think that he can be an effective player, especially in short bursts for this team moving forward.
You guys were a little harsh on Eubanks this morning. Not harsh. You guys didn't say anything mean, but Drew did fine for his role last night. The fact that he couldn't stop Joker is not his fault.
It means he's the NBA.
No, I get that. I get that. But there's a difference between not stopping and being a cone. Like you have to give some sort of resistance. And the one good thing about Eubanks, like first of all, he was very good offensively. But it was a lot of bailout stuff where guys were like, "Oh, hot potato" at the end of the shot clock. And I think he did a really good job of hitting like the little floater. He had 19 points, but I think the biggest thing is he had 7 rebounds, right? That's something that he just has not been very effective at so far, is grabbing rebounds. And so you're hoping that he kind of steps up a little bit. The one problem I do,
so it's not that big of a deal.
Jokic had them all.
yeah,
And the ones Jokic didn't get, Denver got the rest of them.
yeah, it's tough though. Like, look, he's like 6'9". He's not a 7-footer, and so he's undersized even for a backup 5, and he doesn't really have range. Like I thought he would have a little bit more shooting range, and he doesn't. So I don't see a lot of ways in which him and Domas can play side by side. So you're just trying to figure out, again, what this team looks like in the future. And he gave good minutes last night. The scoring again was really good. I do think that anytime you see this, it's happened a couple of times already this season. Guys like Eubanks getting 10, 12 shots, guys like Maxime Reynaud getting 10 shots in a game. I don't know if the Kings realize this, but that's by design. That's the other team is giving you that. That's what they're allowing. And I think there's a little bit too much of that. Like I don't need to see games where, Reynaud or Drew Eubanks are shooting more than Zach LaVine. That's just, again, if that's happening, it's because the other team is living with that and they're totally fine with what's happening.
What do you do? Tell them not to shoot?
Well, no, your team needs to work harder to get shots for your good shooters, for your good scorers. And I'm not saying, it's like super easy, but they need to go out and set better screens. They need to free up Zach LaVine. They need to free up, if it's DeMar, or free up Malik Monk, get these guys going downhill at the rim. And if you're scoring around the rim on, like pick and roll opportunities, that's one thing. Or if you're getting rebounds and putbacks, that's another thing. But a lot of times it's almost like, there's one guy left open on the court with 5 seconds on the shot clock, and it's one of these bigs, and the other team is just sitting there saying, yep, that's exactly how we plan this defensive set.
Real quick, I want to ask James something real quick. Both of you guys. I got a little frustrated last night. I know there was some foul trouble, but I feel like Doug plays too many guys. Jokic played the entire first and third quarter. And the only reason he didn't come back earlier in the fourth quarter is because the game was like kind of out of hand. And I'm like, once again, foul trouble was there. I get it. But like, why isn't Domas playing until the 2-minute mark, especially if you don't have a adequate backup center? Why isn't he playing till 2 minutes left in the first quarter, or 2 minutes left in the third quarter? And I just feel like Doug plays too many guys. Like he needs to shorten the rotation.
Yeah, he shortened the rotation for a couple of games, but last night, very specifically, it's the first night of a back-to-back. And Sabonis got in foul trouble.
Yeah, I wondered that.
Yeah. I think that's why you saw so many players, but I also think like a little bit he's listening about the Keon stuff. And so like I think the other option, Kenny, is that he doesn't play Keon. If he's going to play Neek and, kind of share those minutes around, it gets a little dicey pretty quick. And, like tonight, I don't know, you're going to get there's a possibility if they're down a couple of players, we might actually see Doug McDermott play, but again, no Reno last night, no Doug McDermott. Like, I don't think that they're playing just a ton of guys. Sometimes he's getting to 10 guys in the first quarter, but a lot of times that's because he is doing like the initial 3 subs and then he's coming back with 2 additional subs. He's not leaving 2 starters on the court for long periods.
What do you do? So the back-to-back thing is always kind of a talking point because of obviously the short turnaround. You have the dynamic of the 8:00 game last night. Doug also has to just kind of do. He's got to find a way to come up with victories. This team was in the game until midway through the fourth or whatever. So I don't know how much the back-to-back factored into what he did last night, but I do wonder how much it factors into what he does tonight.
Yeah.
He's already going to be short. We know Zach LaVine for sure. Hopefully that's it. You've got Dennis struggling. Like you've got all sorts of different things, happening with this lineup. And then you just have the fact that they're not playing well. It feels like Doug, Jay-Z talks about, I got 99 problems. No, Doug's got all of those too.
He's got 100.
He's got the bitch and all of them. Like he's got all of the problems.
He's got 100 problems.
And
He does.
The starting lineup thing is almost laughable at this point because you wonder, man, is Doug going to have the same starting lineup for 2 games in a row? And like you learn, well, he doesn't have the ability to because someone's going to be on the injured report who wasn't there the day before.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's the problem. Anytime you go out and sign a player like 7 games into the season and he starts for you 5 days later, I mean, that's an indictment on your roster. It is. I mean, that's just really tough. But, and Russell Westbrook signed like a couple of days before the season started. And was he already got 5 or 6 starts? Like that's not ideal. So I think he's still trying to figure out like 2-man combos, 3-man combos that play well together. I do like the Keon and Neek combo when they come in, especially when they go to a zone. I think that they cause a bunch of problems. I like that combo either way because I think that is something that could be part of your future. Neek at the 3 and Keegan at the 4 with Keon Ellis at the 2. There's a possibility that, at least short term, that could be a starting lineup, part of it, three parts of a starting lineup at some point. So it's just tough though, because I don't think, individually they're playing well enough that you can point to, DeMar, or you can point to Domas or Zach or Russell or Malik and say, hey, look, they're playing well. You can look at their stats. You can look at their stat line at the end of every game. You can look at their season stats, and they look like they're playing really well. But the combinations together just aren't working. So again, the numbers lie. And that's not something that's usually that big of an issue where you're seeing, again, you look at a box score and you're just completely confused. Like, how in the world do they lose by 12 or how do they lose by 30? I mean, the 30-pointer, sure, but a lot of the games this season haven't been by that. It's been 6-point loss, 5-point loss. And so many players have had good games, and it's just that they're not fitting together as a group.
What do you think about Neek's time on the court since he's come back? Has there been some things that you really like, or do you see him, trying to catch up from the injury and being a rookie?
Yeah, I want to see more Neek Clifford. I got to be honest. Like I love watching him play. There are a lot of times right now where the guys are flying out on him at the 3-point line and he's running right past him. And then he's pulling up. He pulled up for a jumper in the last game, or he's finding guys in the corner. Like if you want to know what it is that Doug Christie wants to see from his team, just go ahead and watch Neek Clifford because he's doing exactly what they want. He's getting the paint touches. He's firing the ball to wide open shooters. He's going in and rebounding. He's playing defense. He's playing the game the right way. He's playing within, who he is as a player. I just want to see more. I'd like to see him try to go for 20 in a game and just kind of have that moment where he starts to show the full offensive arsenal, because I think it's there. I do. He's just a little tentative right now. He's just not quite as comfortable as you hope that he will be eventually. But when he does get comfortable, man, he's going to be a ball player. Like, you found a rotational player there. Whether he's a long-term starter or not, I don't know. But I would start looking at him as a potential long-term fixture at the 2. Yeah, after the Zach LaVine era, and especially if you can get a 4 and move Kagan to the 3, I think that would be a really nice 2-3 combo where you have length, athleticism, shooting, creativity with Neek. Like, I do like what you have there.
If anything, Hammer, what does it say that I think Doug turns to Neek tonight to start? We've seen Doug turn to Neek to start and not Keon. What does that tell you, if anything?
I don't know that it says a ton, other than I think Doug does trust Neek, and also I think Neek is a more versatile player. And of all the stats that stood out to me last night, there is one that was kind of hidden there that that most people aren't talking about, and it's the rebound number. The Kings got killed on the glass. Denver had 48 rebounds. The Kings had, what was
35.
it? 35, right? Neek Clifford is a very, very good rebounder for his position, and Keon Ellis is not. And so I keep coming back to that. When you have Keegan Murray back, it allows you to have a couple of guys in the starting lineup that don't rebound. A guy like Dennis Schroeder, a guy like Keon Ellis, guys that just for their position aren't good rebounders. Even, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. The Kings have too many guys that aren't good rebounders for their position. And, like right now, your best rebounder is clearly Domas. Your second best rebounder is Russell Westbrook, who's just about 37 years old, like any minute now, any day. If it's not today, it's right around today.
Yeah, happy birthday,
today.
Russ.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, that's not usually a good thing when your second best rebounder is a 6'2" guard, who's 37.
Well, he is the best rebounding guard in NBA history. Like, he's not
Facts.
your.
He is. No, that's true.
Yeah,
That's
I
true.
understand. I understand the point you're making. He's also a
37.
He's an elite rebounder, though. Like, he's
Yeah.
also like a hustler. Like, he works his ass off, and that was
Mhm.
that's something no Kings fan should be surprised by. Like, if you're on the Russ, bandwagon now and you want to ride, man, that's great. But you shouldn't be surprised that, like, this is what he does. Like, this is Russell Westbrook. Like, the 3 of 12 last night, that is the Russell Westbrook experience. The 5 of 8 from 3, that is the Russell Westbrook experience. But what you're going to get, regardless of what his shooting numbers are, is you're going to get him getting after boards. You're going to get him, getting after plays. And he's the guy. And it's hard, man. I hate that it feels like Doug has to question, these guys' level of compete, man. Because I know when I see Doug, when I see Russ, I don't have to do that. I don't even think I have to do that with Domas. Like, I don't always love the way Domas is playing, but I feel like he's working.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just the plight of a bad team, I guess. Those are things that you've got to talk about.
Well, yeah, and like, look, if Russ is playing, 25 minutes a night for an entire season, he's going to average like 5.5, 6 rebounds a game. Like, Keegan Murray should be the second best rebounder on this team. My point was more to the fact that they have a bunch of other players who don't rebound, and so it is really, really difficult to play a group of these guys together when it just puts all of the pressure on Domas to get every single rebound. I mean, Drew Eubanks again has, like, for per minute, has not been a good rebounder at all. Precious is showing that he can rebound, but there's a couple of guys on this team that just don't rebound. And so having a guy like Russell Westbrook fly in, having a guy like Neek Clifford, having, if they let Devin Carter play, all of those would actually be bonuses, give you rebounding from a different position, a position that typically you're not getting rebounds from.
Yeah, these guys got to play. This is who's on the roster. This is what it is, and I know it's shorthanded, and we talked about that a lot. But if these guys want to win basketball games, they've got to find a way to play better, and that starts tonight. You know, you got Atlanta coming in here. Nobody cares if it's a back-to-back. Atlanta don't care. They're not feeling bad for you. You got to figure out a way to play better and play more consistent throughout the course of a game.
We're getting 20 points from Russ. We might get triple-double Russ tonight. That's what he did last time Levine was out. Golden State,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I don't know if that was the last time Levine was out. I know Levine didn't play that game, though.
Yeah.
No one did. Like Russ,
Right.
Russ is getting a triple.
Russ versus Pat Spencer.
Oh, explain that one to your kids, folks. No, I was there when the Warriors and Kings played. Steph, no. Pat Spencer. Oh man,
Pat Spencer.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna run to the stadium.
Oh, I forgot. You got to go. I'm sorry, Hammer. Go
It's
to work.
okay. See you guys.
Oh, my bad. All right, man. We'll see you.